I've known him through politics, as many Democrats have. He's been a supporter.
Yeah.
He's been a funder, and, you know, for all of us, for Obama, for me, for people who have run for, for office in the United States. So it was just disgusting, and the stories that have come out are heartbreaking. And I really commend the women who have been willing to step forward now and tell their stories. But I think it's important that we not just focus on him and whatever consequences flow from these stories about his behavior, but that we recognize this kind of behavior cannot be tolerated anywhere, whether it's in entertainment, politics.
Well,
you know, after all, we have someone admitting to being a sexual assaulter in the Oval Office. There has to be a recognition that we must stand against this kind of action that is so sexist and misogynistic.
And this depends upon women coming forward and having the courage to come forward.
Right.
And yet in your book, the three women brought onto stage by Trump attacking your husband, and you kind of dismissed them. Was that the right thing to do? Are you sure about that?
Well, yes, because that had all been litigated. I mean, that was the subject of a huge, investigation, as you might recall, in the late 90s. And there were conclusions drawn, and that was clearly in the past. But it is something that has to be taken seriously, as I say, for everyone, not just for those in entertainment right now.
This woman is clearly delusional. I'm Roger Stone, and you're here on The War Room. Hillary Clinton denies history. If you're familiar with my book, The Clintons' War on Women, you know that her husband, Bill Clinton, was a serial assaulter of women. He raped some women. He bit others. He demanded oral sex of yet others. He exposed himself to many. I interview and detail all of those in my book, beyond the brave testimony of Juanita Broaddrick and the superb journalism of Aaron Klein of Breitbart News. We know her story. No, it was never litigated, Hillary. Litigation means your husband would have been held responsible in a court of law, which he never was. In fact, when NBC sat on that interview for a long period of time and ultimately aired the spectacular journalism of Lisa Myers, in a subsequent broadcast, when Broaddrick tried to bring up the role of Hillary Clinton, who specifically threatened her, a producer from NBC jumped up and yelled, "Cut! We're not interested in that." In fact, Bill Clinton's entire past has not been litigated other than in my book. But it needs to be, because in this case, it's not just about Bill's horrific abuse of women, but it's also about Hillary's role as running the cover-up. You see, as David Brock's book, The Education of Hillary Rodham, tells us, Hillary's the cleanup officer. Hillary Clinton is the one who hires the heavy-handed private detectives and the nasty lawyers to threaten, bully, and intimidate these women. You know some of the leading names: Juanita Broaddrick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Corbin Jones, who received, by the way, an $850,000 settlement from Bill Clinton. The only case where the matter was litigated, or in this case, at least settled. But what of Eileen Wellstone, the co-ed at Yale, at Oxford, who was brutally raped by Bill Clinton, for which Bill Clinton was expelled from Oxford? Bill Clinton never graduated from Oxford. Bill Clinton got an honorary degree from Oxford much later in his career. Senator William Fulbright, the Democrat from Arkansas, who sponsored Clinton's a scholarship at Oxford, the Fulbright scholarships being named for him, was very successful in covering up Bill Clinton's expulsion from that fine, august institution. So the Hillary Clinton crowd needs to recognize that Bill and Hill are the last people on the face of the earth who should be making the case that Donald Trump is a sexual assaulter. Now, having that charge fallen completely flat during the 2016 election, they're back. And they're recycling the same old, disproved, specious crap. We have a woman by the name of Summer Zervos, who first emerged during the 2016 elections. She was an apprentice contestant who did not last more than one show before being fired. She complained that Donald Trump kissed her forcefully, and I suspect her real grudge was that she repeatedly interrupted Donald Trump on the program, and he fired her on the spot, calling her both stupid and someone who did a lousy job. Zervos claimed that when Trump denied the allegations that she had made, that he defamed her. In order to try to prove that President Trump defamed her, she initiated a subpoena aiming to show that Trump's actions were willful. That subpoena, prepared by a team that included feminist lawyer Gloria Allred, was in March of this year. Now, it requires that Donald Trump turn over all documents, there are none, concerning these accusations that were made against him that he subjected any woman to unwanted sexual touching or sexually inappropriate behavior. This order made sure to name several other women, all of whose claims have been largely disproved. This is, interestingly enough, all cynically timed for October of last year, a time when one might conclude we were attempting to exact maximum damage on the Trump campaign. It seems that now, even though she has no legal course of action, the Harvey Weinstein scandal has emboldened the left to try to recycle this garbage yet again. You'll recall when the campaign scheduled a giant press release for their star witness to step forward and make their accusations against Donald Trump, she was a no-show. That's right. This was a David Brock-directed black op by the Clintons operation, which completely and totally collapsed. You see, Bill and Hillary knew of Bill's deepest vulnerability, the fact that he was a sexual abuser. According to Mike Isikoff, then of Newsweek, later of NBC, today of Yahoo, he identified at least one woman who Bill Clinton bit through her upper lip as a way of disabling her before assaulting her. Aaron Klein definitely memorialized the fact that Bill used the exact same M.O. on Juanita Broderick, biting her so viciously her upper lip began to turn black, and she had to be taken to a hospital immediately after the Clinton assault on her. So when Hillary says this has all been litigated, what is she talking about? She's talking nonsense. And that's why they are now recycling this charge, hoping that Bill and Hillary would just get off the stage. In fact, most liberals, most Democrats, most progressives that I know, and yes, I'm friendly with a few, they just wish Bill and Hillary would go away. They are so deeply compromised, so politically ineffective, they cannot level this completely phony attack on President Donald Trump. I'm Roger Stone. You're on the War Room. And now would be a superb time for you to go to the Infowars.com store, where we have a special on Brain Force, my favorite product, Brain Force, at 50% off. I'm your host, Roger Stone, here with Millie Weaver, sitting in for Owen Schroyer at the War Room. Now, most Americans, or I should say many, are familiar with the names of Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Corbin Jones, because they had the courage to show up at the third debate in 2016 and let their story of sexual assault and abuse at the hands of Bill Clinton be known. But what about the others, such as Carolyn Moffett, who accused Bill Clinton of trying to force her into oral sex in 1979. Leslie Milwee, who accused Bill on 3 separate occasions of rubbing himself against her to the point of orgasm. Becky Brown assaulted when Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas in the mid-1980s. Then there's Liz Ward Grayson. She initially accused Bill of rape. She attested to her roommate that she had been brutally raped and her upper lip had been bitten, only to change her story after a Hollywood hotshot buddy of Bill Clinton's got Grayson a minor part in a grade B movie. Then there's Helen Dowdy, who said that Bill groped her up there at a Rodham family occasion, a actual in-law family reunion that she attended. Sandra Allen James, an airline stewardess who claimed Bill assaulted her in 1991, pinned her up against the wall in a hotel, forced his hand up her dress. Christy Zurcher, a flight attendant for Bill's 1992 campaign, claimed that he groped her repeatedly and demanded oral sex. And then, of course, there are the stories of Virginia Roberts, who accused Bill Clinton of taking regular trips to Jeffrey Epstein's private island on his Lolita Express. This, folks, is just a partial list of the women who have been sexually assaulted, raped, bitten, or otherwise attacked by William Jefferson Clinton. Is Hillary in denial? You can go and get the Clintons' War on Women. There it is, available at InfoWars, available still at a terrific price. This is the essential data dump on Bill Clinton's epic abuse of women, but more precisely, it really details the role of Hillary Clinton, who was quoted as saying, "These women are nobodies. No one will believe them." Well, we believe them. Now, what Hillary Clinton is doing here in boxing is known as leading with your chin. You'll recall that during the campaign, she actually made a television spot that said, women who have been sexually assaulted and come forward deserve to be believed. Well, they deserve to be believed unless, of course, they were assaulted by her husband, in which case they are nobodies, tramps, trailer trash, white trash, as she called them. This woman is the greatest fraud in American political history. And I think even Soros and her allies on the left have figured out that she's the last person in the world who should make any claim of sexual harassment or assault by Donald Trump. This new claim that has now floated up in the media in the last 24 hours was predicted completely by Alex Jones right here at InfoWars literally months ago. That's right. Alex Jones predicted that the left would recycle the sexual assault claims that failed so spectacularly against Donald Trump in October of last year. Strangely enough, this woman, Summer Zervos, who has come forward, continued to be in touch with Donald Trump after the allegations against him, asking for career help. At the time, candidate Trump released a statement denying that he ever met her at any hotel, as she claimed, or greeted her in any inappropriate way. At that time, the campaign released a statement saying that Zervos was not a credible person that was penned by her own first cousin, John Barry. Barry said that up until the allegation, he was shocked because Zervos had always spoken very highly of candidate Donald Trump. He speculated that Zervos' accusation of assault was just an attempt to get the spotlight for her personal career. Now, her attorney, Gloria Allred, is no stranger to making baseless charges against Donald Trump. Her own daughter, Lisa Bloom, represented the so-called anonymous woman who claimed that Trump had raped her in the 1980s, probably 1990s, when she was 19 years old. You'll recall that spectacular failure. Bloom announced a press conference for which her star witness never showed up. That's right, she was a no-show. Now, this just in, it seems that the Clinton Foundation, unlike a host of other Democratic lefties, is not going to be returning the $250,000 that the pig Weinstein gave them. When Chelsea Clinton was attempted to be interviewed on this subject, she cut and run, and then Bill Clinton used security guards to block journalists from asking him any questions. Why? Because they've already pocketed the money, because they've already stolen the money. Bill and Hillary Clinton and their greedy, nasty, co-conspirator little daughter would steal a hot stove, folks, and the Clinton Foundation is not a charity. It was never a charity. It's a slush fund for grifters. It is a vehicle for the facilitation of multi-million-dollar bribes so that the Clintons can line their pockets. So no, they're not giving Harvey's money back. They've already spent Harvey's money. This is why the Clinton Foundation, for example, spent $6 million on a wedding for Chelsea. This is why she and her husband have enriched themselves at the trough of the Clinton Foundation with very little to show for it when it comes to real charitable activities. Yes, this is one of the greatest financial scams in American political or criminal history. But one must ask, where is Attorney General Jeff Sessions? Where is the Justice Department? Where is the IRS? This is a continuing criminal conspiracy because the Clinton Foundation is still open for business, and Chelsea Clinton is still legally responsible for the grafting that's going on there. So you got to wonder what's wrong with Donald Trump's Justice Department and why have they taken no action? You're at the War Room. Yes, that's the right place. Stay tuned while we break down this smear even further.
Welcome back to the War Room with Roger Stone and myself, Millie Weaver. Now, Bill Clinton, it's no big surprise that he's had a plethora of rape allegations and sexual assault allegations. And Hillary Clinton, who defends him at his side and has not wavered in that position for decades, continues to do so. Yet she, of all people, wants to come out and talk about President Trump, who has these women out now represented by Gloria Allred, accusing him of sexually assaulting them, accusing him of kissing them. Now, what's interesting about Gloria Allred has been out there campaigning for Hillary Clinton during the 2016 presidential campaigning season. She was adamantly pro-Hillary. I mean, there are tons of images of her repping pro-Hillary pins, Hillary for President signs. She was out there campaigning for Hillary Clinton. So to say that this is not any bit politically motivated, having her representing these women in these accusations against President Trump, would be completely false, because it's apparent that she has a political motivation for taking out President Trump. And I find it interesting because I know, Roger, you were talking about how Lisa Bloom, her daughter, actually, you know, that she had represented one of the women that was accusing Trump. But it's also interesting to note that apparently Lisa Bloom, Gloria Allred's daughter, who literally looks like a carbon copy of her, it's kind of freaky, she actually has had a history with Harvey Weinstein. She has been giving him legal advice for over a year. And in this matter with Harvey Weinstein and these women, she actually was continuing to legally advise him, and she got in some hot water there because a bunch of the leftist progressives came out and started criticizing her, which then forced Gloria Allred to come out because, you know, she's known as this lady that goes out there and helps these victims of sexual assault. So she realized, okay, I have to come out and speak against what my daughter was doing. But lo and behold, Lisa Bloom, Gloria Allred's daughter, did step down from representing Harvey Weinstein. But I find it a little bit of a conflict that Gloria Allred is also now representing Louise Geis in this Weinstein case as well. I mean, wouldn't you think that that's a conflict of interest, that the fact that Gloria Allred's daughter, Lisa Bloom, was representing Harvey Weinstein for so long and potentially was even having book deals with him and his company, and then now her mom is representing one of his victims? Don't you think that that seems like a conflict, Roger?
It does seem rather incestuous at a minimum. First of all, I'm always great to be with the always impeccably dressed Millie Weaver here on the War Room. Yes, what it shows is that this latest attack on the president is part and parcel of the same failed effort we saw last October. Just slightly different players, but the same basic smear. To her credit, Lisa Bloom stepped down as Harvey Weinstein's lawyer as the weight of evidence and the number of women that this pig assaulted got longer and longer, and the stories got uglier and uglier. I'm sorry, but no one in their right mind thinks watching Harvey Weinstein shower is a good time. No one in their right mind wants to give this slob a massage. And the way he forced himself on women. Look, this is really a very key point. During the campaign for president, the mainstream media, particularly Chris Cuomo at CNN, tried to characterize Bill's past antics as infidelities and indiscretions. Well, those both imply consensual sex. I have no interest in consensual sex among adults. I'm a libertarian and a libertine. The issue here is quite different. It's violence against women. It's sexual assault. It's non-consensual sex. That's why I wrote The Clintons' War on Women, to document the story of the Carolyn Moffats and the Christy Zurchers and the Sandra Allen James, as well as the better-known women who were assaulted by Bill. Let me say this. Juanita Broderick is a woman of extraordinary courage to step forward and level the deadly accurate and detailed charges that she has made. And Aaron Klein has been, in my opinion, a brilliant journalist in documenting every bit of it. But in the 1980s, when there were only 3 television networks, and when the cable news networks were still relatively in their infancy, there was a mainstream media blackout of all of this information. All 3 networks knew about Juanita Broderick, but only one, and then only under extreme pressure, decided to air the story. And then they didn't even air the entire story. They told the story of Bill's assault on Broderick in a Little Rock hotel room, where she had been lured with the promise of a state job or an appointment. She ran a very successful nursing home owned by her family. After the assault by Bill Clinton, that nursing home would come in for rigorous state regulatory harassment. But none of this, of course, was covered by the mainstream media. If you go to my book, The Making of the President 2016, How Bill Clinton Orchestrated a Revolution, I dedicated this book to Juanita Broderick. She is a woman of extraordinary courage, and I believe Juanita. You should too. Millie, what's your other takeaway from this?
Well, there's no question that the accusations against Bill are a lot more serious than any of the accusations that have come forth against President Trump. His are just, you know, really things like, oh, he kissed me without asking, and things like that, whereas we're talking about Bill Clinton, women coming away with their lips almost bitten off and being bitten and assaulted and beaten. That is very violent. That is gruesome. That is horrible. But also, you have to ask, are these Democrats creative at all? Because what it seems like they're doing to me is that they're simply accusing Trump of what they've been accused of. Hillary Clinton accuses him of sexual misconduct. Why? Because she can have that under the magnifying glass pointed toward her and Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton has bad relations with Russians, meaning relations that are inappropriate with the Russians, the uranium deals. Yet she points the finger at President Trump for accusing him of having wrongful relations with the Russians. It just seems like she accuses her enemy of what exactly she's doing so that when they point the finger back at her, it looks like a he said, she said. I mean, that's my takeaway on this, Roger.
I think that's exactly right. We've seen it in the Russia thing. We know that it is the Podestas and the Clintons who've made millions off their relationship with the oligarchs around Vladimir Putin. So what better way to distract the American public than say, oh, look over there, Donald Trump, he's in bed with the Russians. It's a canard, a myth, a fairy tale, a fraud, a steaming place of horse pucky. It's not true. Yet you have Congressman Adam Schiff once again flogging it in the op-ed pages of the Washington Post, saying it's premature to end the investigation. That's why I say, if it's Schiff, flush it. I'm Roger Stone, you're on The War Room, and we'll be right back. I'm Roger Stone, and you're back on The War Room. This is the new expanded programming of Infowars.com. This is really why we need you to go to the Infowars.com store with your support today. You see, we at Infowars, we don't have a George Soros standing in the wings writing multi-million-dollar checks. We don't have big donations from the Ford Foundation or the Rockefeller Foundation or the other globalist nonprofits pouring millions into the propaganda arms of the far left. We can only depend on you, the average info warrior, our fellow patriots, those committed to a freedom agenda, and to those committed to giving the Trump presidency a chance to bring real reform. That's why it's essential that you go to the site and you help yourself, but you also help us. We have extraordinary sales going on. Survival Shield, a proprietary B12 formula, really using 2 different strains of B12, neither of which the name I can properly pronounce, but which give you a particularly synergistic and effective result. Then there's Brain Force at 50% off. I wouldn't be able to be doing this broadcast if I hadn't popped a couple of these only an hour and a half ago. It gives me mental clarity, mental stability, and kind of a lift, a focus that's necessary when you stay up all night writing for Infowars.com or the Stone Cold Truth, and then you work all day. I was on with David Knight this morning and his spectacular new news program. I was on with Owen Scheuer for the Alex Jones Show only hours ago, and now I'm proud to be here with Millie Weaver for The War Room. But unthinkable without Brain Force. So, folks, do yourself a favor, do us a favor, support the tip of the spear, the cutting edge of the revolution by going to the website today. It's a win-win, as Alex Jones likes to say. I also want right now to dispel a completely vile rumor that seems to be bouncing around the internet. It is said that Alex Jones did not appear on the air today because he was being held captive by the Chiapas, Mexico farmers who are demanding more for their coffee. This is a vile lie spread by David Brock and the people at Media Matters. I spoke to Alex Jones only hours ago. He was taking care of some personal business, and he'll be right back here at InfoWars tomorrow. So don't believe everything you read on Twitter. Millie, what's going on with Julian Assange and this issue?
Well, you know, Hillary Clinton made an appearance on Four Corners, the Australian news show, where she slammed Julian Assange. She called him a nihilistic opportunist who does the bidding of a dictator. I mean, those are some pretty harsh words coming from Hillary Clinton, of all people. But if you ask me, in my opinion, this whole situation here where you have these trumped up sexual assault charges at Trump, accusing Trump of being a sexual assaulter, that seems to me like Gloria Allred, in my opinion, is a nihilist opportunist doing the bidding of Hillary Clinton, who acts like a dictator. And there's been all kinds of accusations against Hillary Clinton mistreating her staff, throwing big temper tantrums. I mean, she acted like a dictator when she would sit there in her fancy tent and leave her fans out there for hours in the blistering heat. It's ridiculous.
The idea that Julian Assange is anything but a journalist is absurd. Does anyone think that he's living it up in this tiny cubicle in the Ecuadorian embassy where he's essentially given away his personal freedom to fight for the truth? There is no evidence whatsoever that he is a Russian asset. When asked about this before the House Intelligence Committee, FBI Director Comey said, yeah, we think they use some kind of Russian cutout. This is nonsense, baloney, horse crap. It's false. You know, the funny thing about our friends in the intelligence community, they think that if you repeat a lie enough times, it'll somehow become a fact. Julian Assange is not a Russian asset. Julian Assange does not work for a foreign power. And unlike the New York Times and the Washington Post, he has a pristine record for accuracy. Nothing that Wikileaks has ever published has proven to be false or inauthentic or forged or not real. What bothers the deep state is that he is exposing their deepest secrets of corruption and outrageous conduct contrary to the public good. And that drives them insane. We know for a fact that Secretary of State John Kerry visited London to try to convince the British government to rescind the diplomatic recognition of Ecuador for one day so that they could storm the embassy and arrest Assange. We know from the WikiLeaks disclosures that Hillary Clinton proposed hitting the embassy with a drone and killing Assange. What are the deep secrets that this man has that so deeply disturb the deep state and their allies and handlers of the Clintons? I'll tell you what it is. It's truth. That's what's driving them completely insane. Millie?
They're terrified of the truth. You nailed it. That is exactly what it is, Roger. And what have they accomplished? What has the deep state accomplished in all of this? Well, it's quite simple. When's the last time we've had anyone talking about on the news about Hillary Clinton and her emails, her mishandling classified information? We've completely gotten off the trail of Hillary for prison, and we're so busy caught up with Trump and these allegations of Russian collusion. We're caught up with these allegations of a sexual assault or sexual abuse headed by Gloria Allred, who's campaigning for Hillary. I mean, give me a break. It's ridiculous, and it's all just to get us off of what Trump said he was going to do. When Trump was campaigning in the debates, he said, yeah, well, if I'm president, you'll be behind bars. Trump has not even been able to go after Hillary Clinton and her crimes, let alone Barack Obama's crimes and Fast and Furious and all of his scandals and mishandling of federal funds. We haven't been able to have any justice when it comes to these Democrat politicians that literally get away with murder. I mean, it's insane how much they get away with. Yet everyone wants to sit here and nitpick Trump to death. And I think the American people see it, and they know what's going on, and they're sick of it, and that's why it's falling on deaf ears. It's like water off a duck's back.
Well, in her recent book, What Happened, which you can find in the fiction section at Barnes & Noble, Hillary Clinton assaults me by name and describes me as a bizarre character. Baby, look in the mirror. You are a mean-spirited, foul-mouthed, greedy, entitled lunatic with an ability to essentially suspend any belief in the truth. This woman lies with a straight face better than anyone I have ever seen. She's delusional. I don't know who wrote this book for her, but it's a piece of garbage. At the same time, I'm highly, highly honored to be attacked by name in the book. Let's clear this up very quickly. No, I didn't know about the hacking of John Podesta's email in advance. There is no proof whatsoever of that. No, I did not know the source or content of the Wikileaks disclosures in October of last year. There is no evidence to that effect. And as far as Guccifer 2.0, you can go to the Infowars.com site now and see an extended piece posted 2 days ago proving that he is not a Russian asset, not a Russian hacker. Complete nonsense. In fact, I've come to the view that the Democratic National Committee was never hacked at all. We know that the DNC wouldn't allow the FBI to examine their servers. The reason for that is because it would prove that they had never been hacked. No, folks, it was an inside job, which is why Julian Assange posted a $25,000 reward leading to the capture of Seth Rich's murderer. Yes, you heard it all here on The War Room. We are the cutting edge of the counter-revolution, proud to bring you the truth. Help us by going to the website and tune in to The War Room. I'll be back tomorrow. Many thanks.